Alright, well, it's a part two. Sorry, I actually hit the pause button. It's a part two. It's a two-parter. First part with the exposure and me going to my car and telling you about what I'm... And basically on my car. And the second part is basically me trying to explain the thoughts that were going through my head while I was doing the exposure and the thoughts that are going through my head now. Just basically raw and edited me, what I'm doing, how I plan my day. I try to live my anxiety on a day-to-day basis. Like, obviously, it's 9 o'clock right now. I work at 11:15, and so there's that I'm anxious about. I'm also anxious about just generally being out right now with people. Like, I get socially anxious. I get anxious that apparently, if you really get down to it, it's like an insecurity. I just fear like what I'm doing is profoundly offensive or embarrassing, or I'm on the spot all the time. Right? Like, obviously when you're out more and more, it goes down, and that's a form of exposure. But when you do that consciously, where you consciously say, I'm going to go out so that I'm going to be anxious and the anxiety will go down, that's different than just working in the public and then having your anxiety go down. There's a difference. But I'm not saying there won't be any anxiety decrease by just going out and not even realizing your anxiety is going down. I'm just saying, if you want better results, be kind of more focused with how you tackle it. Yeah, what I uncovered in some of these videos is there was a nagging thought again about self-worth in terms of like my friends that left me. And I mentioned this to someone close to me a while back, and she said, well, they weren't your friends anyway. And I thought to myself, that's really easy for, others. I don't mean her personally, but just others to conceptualize. Oh yeah, they're not my friends anyway, right? It's kind of hard though when it's like they're your only friends in a way, your closest friends, your closest friends that you've made after a long time, after moving from a different country, and you're too kind of naive to understand why, because you think maybe you did something to hurt their feelings and you try to be a better person. It's only later you realize, no, son, sexism there's no place for that. There's no, and you had no choice in how you chose to live your life in terms of your same-sex attraction and whatnot, right? So, I basically kind of just realized that yeah, unless you kind of felt it in a way, unless you kind of have been through my exact experience, you don't really know. And it's easy to say. That's why when I give this advice, I try to be as empathetic, have empathy as most possible as I possibly can, because it's hard to have anxiety because it's very idiosyncratic and it attacks us all differently in different ways. Like, look at my anxiety, choking on food. Very specific, right? Some people have very specific types of anxiety. And I know it can get alienating to be alone with those thoughts and think no one else is kind of like there to help you. But you got to understand, people are out there to help you. They're out there. What I notice is a lot of information overload. There's almost too many resources. What you gotta do is stick with one. Something that you have faith in and believe in. Like the workbook I was doing, right? Like, I told you about the SUDS, told you about how to do it, recording my anxiety. And when you do it on a regular basis, it's like an exercise, but the exercise is for your brain, because your brain is like, it needs to be in rehab. It needs to rehab its broken nerve systems or whatever, right? It needs to rehab its anxiety, its cerebral cortex, and its amygdala and everything, right? Or like basically the fear center needs to be reprogrammed to be less fearful. And so, this is how you do it, by talking about your thoughts. Not necessarily vlogging, but vlogging is something that I'm trying not to do. As I said, I'm going to try to tell you the thoughts that were going through my head while I did my exposures, and I will continue to do them. I find it to be very helpful. I don't think I'll ever stop. It's like a lifelong habit now. Maybe it's my OCPD of lists and stuff, I don't know. But, okay. it goes down to like two thoughts. One is like alienation and loneliness from your friends. The other is, well, the solution is just to realize you weren't your friends. Then you realize that's hard to do because they were your friends and then they weren't. There's no easy way to not say that. You can say, oh, they weren't your friends, you're tougher from it, you lived through the scars. Yeah. But sometimes when you're alone at night, the thought comes back to you. You did something wrong. You're worthless because of them leaving you. And it's a logical thought because, oh, people want to be liked. What could you have done to please them more because you enjoyed spending time with them? And when you realize fundamentally that you did absolutely nothing wrong, right? Being bisexual is not wrong. There's nothing wrong with being bisexual, and anybody who has a problem with it is actually a bigot and a sexist if they do such things, like saying I don't want to be your, just basically cutting you out after you tell them. Then you gotta be pride. You gotta have pride of who you are, girl, guy, whoever is watching this. You gotta have pride of who you are and take ownership and responsibility for your actions and your destiny and for what you want to be in your life. So I find I'm wanting to go back to like the old life I was living of kind of like lists and orders and religion and stuff. I also simultaneously think this is kind of what I should be doing too, a psychology, but I mean not psychology, but just kind of living after high school. High school, everyone survives it and they do their thing. They go to a university, or they get a job, or they, drop out, or they make YouTube videos about anxiety. Well, everyone has a story after high school. This is kind of my story after high school, what I've done. And, recently I have been freaking because my disability has been cut off, and I'm kind of adjusting to having to work full time, and it's really, really hard because I haven't yet actually done it fully. I've worked here and there, and I was only planning on working part-time. But, sometimes life just throws you these curveballs that people with anxiety know you just have to deal with. And this is one of the ones you just have to deal with. You have to deal with having to deal with the fact that no one is going to, pay for things that, you use, like your internet, your phone, your groceries and stuff, your random things and trips you need to go here and there to buy little things. No one's gonna help you at the end of the day. That's what I realized also in my life. This is more of like advice now, but I'm not trying to make it into an advice. It's more of just, you grow older. Like I've become more bored at the world. I don't take people's bullshit anymore. I take it with a grain of salt. People's bark is more bigger than their bite. People are crazy, and you don't want to deal with the crazy. With the crazy, you just run away. But with the rude, angry people, dumb people, ignorant people, loud people, bitchy people, judgmental old people, whatever, right? At the end of the day, I just face the anxiety, watch it come down, feel comfortable with it, stay in my own skin, and be proud of being gay. Being proud of being who I am and not letting that get to me, not letting that bother me. And when you do that, you realize the world can be as entertaining as you want it to be. But it's best to keep it boring because then it's easy to remember. And for me, in my list, it's like the same thing over and over again. I don't know how to explain it, but somehow cyclically, I like things to kind of go around and around and around, same thing over and over again. So I stay bored so I don't get too high. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with having a life where you just have a bored outlook at it. Like, it's the first stepping stone, I think, to maybe being more motivated. There's people that never get happy. They're called emo. If they're happy like that, fine. What I mean to say is I kind of want to live more of a happier world than an emo, but I'm not going to bend myself backwards over anybody. Like, when I do my job, and that's it. I don't care about people's meaningless petty stuff. Like, when I walk around, doing my stuff, all I think about is just I gotta make money. I don't think about, anything else. I don't I don't know. It's hard to explain. I don't want to get all wound up in what did he say, what did she say, how am I looking? Because then it's like, basically like, does anybody really care this much about how I'm thinking about? No, right? Just do your job and move on with your life. Again, it's through the normalization of anxiety. Of the word anxiety, of speaking about it freely, talking about it with your family and friends and your close people. It's about the normalization of it. If you can't normalize it, then, why are you fighting it?